discussed openly, safely, and honestly. And so we're looking forward to when we open that center and provide yet another venue here on the site for dialogue about important immigration issues of the day. One other thing that I think that you will hear today later on, we have a great program for you. The importance of individual stories in all kinds of museums in the United States has become very important. And it's because people realize that by telling the individual stories of people who went through this immigration experience is a good way for people of all ages to become engaged, to see how important it is to learn from the individual experiences. And so we're going to have some of those stories today. It evolved out of the poems carved in the walls and is now an integral part of what the foundation does every day. And I hope you'll visit our website and take a look at some of the stories from all over the Pacific Rim. This was, by the way, not just a Chinese immigration experience, but 82 nations from throughout the Pacific came through Angel Island, so it's very broad. One last thing is ancestry is very, very important, and then this day is largely about ancestry, and we are looking forward to providing more information for you in the future in our program so that you'll be able to do your own ancestry research in a much more facilitated way. Well, that's enough about us. I do want to welcome you. I am delighted that you're here. The sun is coming out, I think. And this is something that we will be doing every year. We want to see you come back again. We want to see you bring more of your family and your friends. Now, before our program starts, I'd like to introduce the superintendent of the Angel Island State Park, Amy Brees, our proud partner. Amy.
Hi there. I figured it was family reunion day, so it's most appropriate to be my family. Yeah, exciting, huh? Ronan is actually the 15th generation of our family in the United States, but we're immigrants just like most people in America, and we came for the same reasons that everybody comes to America, for opportunities and to have a better life. And so I mostly just want to, yeah, exactly. I want to say thank you for coming out, and we really appreciate you all that have the personal stories and that came through this site, and we want to welcome everybody who's an immigrant in general, and this site represents their journey even if you didn't physically come through this site. So thanks so much for coming, and I can't wait to hear the stories today.
Thanks, Amy. And Ronan is already going to be a star. You can see that. Well, to get our program started, I want to introduce our Director of Community Relations, Grant Dinn. Grant?
Thanks, Michael. I'm really happy you all could come today. As Michael said, we plan to make this an annual event and tell all your friends and family next time. We have a wonderful group of researchers and storytellers and all around great people here today, and we're very proud. As Michael mentioned, people from about 80 different countries came. Of course, people have heard most about the Chinese who left the poetry, but we have a representation of some stories from people who came from China, Russia, Japan, and Korea today. So the order in your program will be a little bit tweaked because David Pan has to leave a little early, so he will be second. But first, I'd love to introduce Sam Louie. He and his wife Jenny are popular tour leaders on the island. If you've been here for a tour, you might have seen them before. And that gives me a chance to thank all the volunteers who are here, who come all the time to lead tour groups of always well-behaved children, of course, from 4th and 8th grades, as well as everybody else. And the people on tours and are, along with the park staff, are the way the people who come here learn about what happened on Angel Island. And Sam is going to tell you about some of the really amazing research he's done on his family members who have come to Angel Island. So I'm happy to introduce Sam Louie.
Good morning. My name is Sam, and started volunteering. Before I retired, I spent 38 years in the San Francisco Unified School District as a teacher and an administrator. Get that out. And I remember that one of my assignments was I was principal of a middle school. And one day, my science teacher, my 8th grade science teacher said, "Hey, I'm going to start a unit on family life. And I'd like you to come to the first session." Now, for those of you not in the ed biz, as we call it, family life education is sex education. So here I am in the first class, and 8th graders there are nervous. I call them the hormone time bombs. And the teacher starts out by saying, you know, during the next couple of weeks, 10% of what you're going to learn, you're going to say, I know that already. Another 10% of what you're going to learn, you're going to say, oh, I didn't know that. But 80% of what you're going to learn, or that we're going to talk about, you're going to think, I think I know that, but I'm not sure. Well, when I started doing research on my family, you know, I went down to the National Archives in San Bruno, and I had the same feeling. I walked in there, and I said, I know just about that much about my family, and I know there's a lot that I didn't know, but there was a whole bunch that was sort of like, yeah, I know, but I don't. And for instance, what I knew that my father had come to this country as a 14-year-old paper son. I knew that. But I didn't know the details. So I dug in. I found out that he had come, as I said, when he was 14 years old. I have a picture of him. Hold on. I brought the Louie family album. And I know you can't see this well, but I'll have them inside with some of the documents. Here's my father, 14 years old. This is his paper father. Nice guy. And he had to come here. He had very little education in China, had absolutely no job skills, and of course didn't speak English. And yet he was expected to not only survive, get a job, find a place to live, and the whole bit. He was lucky. He found a job working in a Chinese noodle factory, and his boss was so kind and allowed him to sleep on the floor in the corner of the noodle factory. Anyway, he survived, and when he turned 20, here's him at 14. When he turned 20, he got a letter from his father, and it says, "Dear son, it's time to come home." Come home, of course, meant go back to China. It was his time to come home and get married. According to the records, he got back to our home village in Toisan on a Tuesday. On Saturday, there was this big celebration. Guess what? His wedding. So on Saturday he was married. The result of that marriage was my oldest brother was born. Pop, as we called him, had to come back to America to work. And when he was 24, he went back to China a second time. So that visit was the birth of my sister. Then, in 1929, he went back to China for the third time. Guess what? Yeah, you know, my brother. Okay. In 1935, he went back to China for the fourth time. No, you're wrong. I know what you're thinking. Wrong. Anyway, he went back to China and to bring his family here to America. And so he brought my mom, 2 brothers, and a sister. Brought them here. And as soon as they landed in San Francisco Harbor, guess where they wound up? Angel Island. And they had to go through, the interrogation process and all that. I tell the story, and I think of Kay, who's going to be speaking, and I'm so envious because her story is more interesting than mine. She got all these. Well, I'll let her tell you later. And so I said, I gotta find out more about my family. And I knew that my father came as the son of a native. Son of a native? That means grandfather was born here in America. I said, no way. Not only was grandfather supposedly born here in America, great-grandfather had to be here, along with most important great-grandmother. And I said, no. Chinese women in the 1800s were back home. They didn't come to America. They were supposed to stay home. The men and boys were supposed to come, get lots of money, go back to China and live a good life. And I said, no way is my father the son of a native. And I said, it must be because after the 1906 earthquake and fire, when all the birth records were destroyed, that my paper grandfather must have gone down and declared himself a native. I said, that's it. But when I dug through the records, this is a birth certificate. This was for my paper grandfather. It says he was born August the 5th, 1876. And this birth certificate was issued to him in May 23rd, 1902, way before the earthquake. And in order for him to get this birth certificate, he had to find 2 witnesses willing to go down to City Hall to swear they knew him. And they couldn't be any kind of witness. They had to be white, because Chinese could not serve as witnesses for anything. So he found these 2 white guys and said, oh yeah, we remember seeing him running around the store as a child. And they signed off, and so boom, he got his birth certificate. Well, I found out that he wanted to go to China, back to China, and that his first wife had passed away. His first wife, by the way, was supposedly my father's mother, supposedly. But she passed away, and so he went back and married a second wife. I love her. This is Ao Shi, his second wife. He brought her to America. She stayed with him for a couple of years. And then all of a sudden, she disappeared. She ran away. And she ran away, and nobody knew what happened to her. She wasn't found until 1930. In 1930, they found her in San Mateo. We call her our family's first Chinese entrepreneur, because by then she was a businesswoman. The only problem was the business that she had was running a Chinese gambling house. So naturally, she was arrested along with 2 of her teenage hostesses who would entertain the guys after they finished gambling. And this is her in 1930. Actually, this is her mugshot. So, as I said, I love it because, you know, this is our history. And if you want to find out more, inside I'm going to have a table, I'm going to have all sorts of stuff. And you look at these pictures more carefully. Thank you.
That's after you'll take your open house view, you'll be able to talk to all of our speakers except maybe a couple and see their materials and see Sam's photos up close that he's able to get at the National Archives. It's really amazing stuff. David Conway Penn has to catch the 1225 ferry, so we're bringing him out here, and he's a student at San Francisco State University where students of Dr. Grace Yu are researching the Korean records on at the National Archives in San Bruno. There are about 360 of them, and one common thread comes through a lot of them. A man named Reverend David Lee helped a lot of them in the process. David Penn will tell you a lot about him before he has to run off, and he won't be checking his phone for emails or something. His talk is actually on his phone. So, come on. So here's David.
What's up? Good morning. Who can hear me? Raise your hand.